I want a big fancy car with the top back and shopping bags filled to the
10k at a steady pace.
I'm going fast, keeping it real, feeling the feelings I feel. Spinning my wheels, keeping it real, feeling the feelings I feel.
Hello everyone and welcome to another video. First of all, I just want to say a huge thank you for all your kind messages, comments and just general words of support. I was really pleased and proud to get through what I did, so I do really appreciate it, and welcome to all the new subscribers. Thank you for joining me. So today is Monday the 17th of August, it's 6:15 a.m. and I'm going to take you all through a full week of training as well as a full day of eating today to show you how I'm eating whilst I'm in a deficit. So I've had a lot of questions around how I train for concurrent goals, sort of how I balance weightlifting and endurance, so hopefully this will give you a good insight into exactly that. But what I'll do is film each session, run you through it as I go on what exercises I'm doing, why I'm doing them, how they fit into the bigger picture of the week and the bigger picture of my overall training cycle. RE nutrition, I'm currently on 2,000 calories a day, which does not sound like much for my training volume or for anyone, in fact, and I'm not having a good time with it thus far, but the logic with that is I'm just on a pretty aggressive cut until this first or second week of September, just to sort of lean me down a little bit more to take me into a steady surplus towards the end of the year. So for those that might not know, I'm currently training for a ultra endurance event at the start of November. I haven't yet revealed the details of exactly what that is, so I can't give anything away there, apologies, but it will be a sort of 8 to 10 day continuous effort, very long distance event. So I'm basically going from being strong and fast to trying to stay strong and getting much slower. So this is sort of week one following my 500-pound squat, sub 5 minute mile and marathon, as I've sort of had a few things in between then and now which have kind of stopped me from getting through a full training week. But this is going to be training week number one. I will take you through it. Without any further ado, I'm going to head to the gym, and if you do have any questions on anything at any stage, please do drop them in the comments down below. I lied, I'm not going to see you at the gym just yet because I haven't shown you what I'm eating today. So first of all, I'm starting off with a Tropical Knocko, which has 0 calories in it, just to get me nice and amped up for the session. But I do like to have a little bit of something in my stomach before I train, just so I feel a bit better. So I'm having this Nature Valley bar, which is not the most economical use of calories given how little I am on, but I'd like to have something in my stomach. Alright, so starting the week off on a Monday morning with a heavy lower body session, I thought I'd just set the scene for you a little bit and give you a bit of context on how we program my training and how I like to program training for other people. So generally speaking, we will always peak intensity at the start of the week and peak volume at the end of the week, and then basically invert those two metrics as the week goes on. So my heaviest, most intense session will always be on the Monday, and my least intense, most voluminous session will always be on the Saturday, and those will kind of invert as the week goes on. So set number one here was 170 kilos, 2 sets of 5, and this felt really solid. Bit of fatigue in my lower body from the week just gone, but we thought we'd start my squats quite light into this training cycle. Following on from that, I had 2 max rep sets at 150 kilos and got 12 for both sets. Felt really solid. First time squatting in front of a mirror for a while, which was a bit off-putting and distracting in many ways, but these all felt smooth, which is pretty encouraging. So moving on, we had 3 sets of 8 at 100 kilos on RDLs, which is just, again, a bit of a light introduction back into the movement, just to get my hamstrings and my glutes and my hip hinge moving so that we can better prepare for the next couple of months. Then I had 5 sets of 3 at 60 kilos on jump squats, which is not an exercise I've done since I was 17 years old, still playing rugby, but these are just there for a bit of explosive power and just a bit of a hip hinge movement again, because in the hills, we're trying to mimic hip hinge as much as possible given the incline. Then I had 100 jumping lunges to finish, went 50, 25, 25, and that was the session for the day.
Alright, so that's job done there with my lower body session. What I'm going to do is head back to the house, get some breakfast, full day of work ahead, so I should be running my 10k evening session at about 6:37. So I'll keep you posted throughout the day with what I'm eating. See you back at the house. Alright, so it's just before 9, training is done. I'm having pretty much the exact same breakfast that I have every morning, whether I'm in a surplus or a deficit. 100 grams of oats, 40 grams of awesome supplements, vanilla whey protein, some frozen raspberries, and a bit of sweetener as well. So put the calories and the macros on the screen somewhere. There's not going to be that many today as I'm in such a low sort of calorie intake, but I will talk you through how I'm eating the rest of the day. I'm going to be here for most of it, so not too much exciting stuff going on before my training this evening. So I will get this done. See you shortly. Alright, so it's miserable outside, but I am holding on to the notion that it's still summer by having a nice coffee. That is just some instant coffee, 15 grams of low-calorie hot chocolate, some sweetener, and 200 grams of skim milk, so I'll put the macros, calories on the screen, etc, etc. But these normally get me pretty amped up because they're quite high in caffeine, so I'm expecting a big afternoon of work. About 11 AM now, power hour, then lunch at about 12:30, but I'll keep you posted. Alright, so I'm just back from walking the dogs and doing a full food shop for the rest of the week and sort of start of next week, and it is absolutely caning it down outside, so good thing I was in a waterproof and yeah, not walking anywhere too far away because that was grim. Dogs went to the bathroom quickly, which is very handy and very considerate of them. So what I thought I'd do before I eat my lunch is I'll show you through everything I've bought that will see me through sort of 5 to 7 days-ish, give or take, depending what Erin dives into as well. But yeah, alongside staples in the house, this is what a typical food shop looks like. So I'll start over here. So we've got big fat family pack of chicken, some 5% mince, 15 eggs, a decent amount of couscous, which you can just add water to, which is a really decent carb source when you're in a deficit, in my opinion, just because I feel like you get the most bang for your buck in terms of volume for calories. Whole load of zero fat Greek yogurt, which I'll have one of every day with some frozen raspberries, low fat hot chocolate, or some protein in it. Really good hit of protein, especially when I'm in a deficit, given that protein is my focus. Some mature cheddar. I normally get light cheddar, but the light cheddar that they sell at Lidl is grim, so I've gone with full fat cheddar this time round, but I'll just use it a bit more sparingly. Decent amount of peppers, which I'll be roasting for dinner tonight. Some shallots, I prefer them over normal white onions, just prefer the sweeter texture. Decent amount of aubergines, which again I'll be using tonight and making some miso aubergines for the rest of the week. Cherry tomatoes for here and there, some spinach so I make sure I get my greens, some mushrooms and some more frozen raspberries, which I will use in my breakfast every morning along with some of this. So alongside everything else that we've already got in the house, just little bits and bobs, standard things that you'll have lying around. That is what a typical food shop looks like. So I'm going to make myself a 6-egg omelette with loads of veg and some of the cheese, and I will catch up with you once that is done and I'm back at the desk. This is potentially the least appetizing thing I could conceivably put on the internet, but I'm convinced it's going to be delicious. So we have 6 eggs with shallots, tomatoes, spinach, peppers, mushrooms, maybe some more vegetables that I can't remember, but also some cheddar, and it's covered in sriracha sauce, because if you don't love sriracha sauce, I don't even know who you are. So I'm going to eat this, get back to work, and then I will keep you posted this afternoon. But it is miserable outside, so I'm starting to be a little bit less excited about my run this evening. Update, tastes a lot better than it looks, which is good news considering how it looked. So, should have mentioned as well, the reason I'm having such a low carb lunch is because I generally try to focus all my carbs around training, especially when I'm in a deficit. So, as you may have gathered from this morning, I had Nature Valley Bar and then my oats before and after training. I'm going to have a pretty low carb lunch and then probably a higher carb snack ahead of my run tonight, as well as some more carbs afterwards. So that's just the way I like to do things, each to their own. But the other thing that I forgot to mention at the start of the video is that whilst balancing strength and endurance training, I tend to shoot for 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. But I do raise that slightly higher, give or take, when I'm in a deficit, just because I think there's a bit more of a focus and it helps keep me fuller. But that's a bit of an overview of how I like to do things. I'll keep you summarized throughout the day, and I'll do a bit of an overview at the end of this day, moving into the rest of the week, training-wise. Alright, so it's just coming up to 6:45 and I'm going to head off for my run as I'm starting to get absolutely starving and I want to save all my calories for my evening meal. The beauty of aerobic training is that I will be able to eat back an additional 700-ish calories from my 10k run. Oh, thought I got an email that was going to stop me going there for a second. Thank God, thank God. Okay, so pouring rain, grey weather, windy, miserable, horrible. That's Scotland. See you on my run. As you can probably tell, the weather is far from inspiring. So prescription today was 10k at a steady pace. I'm going to shoot for just below, sort of 5 minute per k pace. Get through this in the rain, which is actually quite refreshing. And then I will see you back at the house for some dinner. Alright, so run is done. I will put the data on the screen for you here. Very, very encouraging. Average heart rate was really low and that felt really comfortable, which is good news leading into an aerobic block. But anyway, the main event of the day, we have my dinner here. So, a whole packet of roasted vegetable couscous, 200 grams of chicken with seasoning, and some roasted vegetables with enough to last me the rest of the week as well. Very simple, carbs, vegetables, protein, covered in sriracha sauce. Pretty tried and tested formula for me. Conscious of this video is getting very long, given that this is a full week of training and this is only day one, so I am going to eat this, catch up with you shortly for my final meal of the day, and then finish off Monday, leading into the rest of the week.
This isn't that easy to do one-handed.
So final meal of the day in the freezer there, 350 grams of fat-free Greek yogurt and 20 grams of low-calorie hot chocolate, which I've mentioned a fair few times today actually. Use it in iced coffee, porridge, yogurt, as I've said, and actually as hot chocolate sometimes. Who would have guessed? Anyway, really good when I'm on a diet, or not actually. I use it as a staple generally day to day. So what I should have mentioned before was that Garmin estimated 705 calories burnt on that run, but I'm going to take 600 as what I eat back on top of my daily intake of 2,000 calories. So today I will be consuming 2,600 calories for my daily goal, which keeps me in a pretty aggressive deficit, which I'll be in for the next month just to really lean down quite quickly ahead of a big training period. So that is how I eat in a day. I hope I've outlined the principles that I abide by generally. You don't need to do the same. It can just be a bit of a guideline for you to work off. If you do have any questions, stick them in the comments below. Training, rest of the week to follow. Alright, so Tuesday morning's upper body session was pretty simple in reality. German volume training inspired, 10 sets of 10 at 80 kilos on bench press and pendlay row, supersetting set by set. So this was pretty high intensity as my rest periods were only 60 to 90 seconds, but the volume was pretty high as well. So all in all, a fair bit of DOMs going into Wednesday after this, but the purpose of this is basically just to build up strength in my upper body to be able to carry a pack for a long period of time and just to increase overall work capacity. Following on from that, I had 3 sets of 20 push press at 20 kilos, supersetted with 20 press ups, and I think I went 10, 5, 5 on all 3 of those sets. Anyway, that was it for the day. Short and sharp, got through it nice and early, got back for a bit more of a relaxed morning ahead of work. But yeah, got to build a bit more work capacity in my upper body as it is somewhat lagging behind my lower at this point. Good morning. Wednesday, just gone 5 AM, sitting at the foot of the car park of the Pentland Hills, which will mean nothing to a lot of you, but it's basically just the hill region just outside of Edinburgh. Waiting for Johnny, who's due here in about 5 minutes, and then we're going to hit up just sort of a steady 2 hours in the hills. We've only got one weighted vest between us today because mine's still down south. So gonna do half and half each way, but just, yeah, steady sort of 140 beats per minute heart rate, up in the hills, 2 hours, then back into Edinburgh for a full day's work. The joys. See you on the hills. All right, so rain's just started, just over 3k down. Gonna get 2 small peaks done in just sort of over 2 hours, I think. But quite a lot of fog, which is making visibility a bit of a challenge. But ooh. Very nice morning. No one else on the hill other than a whole load of sheep. So I feel like I'm in Wales. All right, job done. So just over 7.5k, just under 2 hours. Miserable weather. Was going to stick the drone up for some sick angles, but as you saw, weather was not pleasant nor visible. So job done. I have a lot of food to eat today now, which is good news. But anyway, gonna head back. Full day work, no training tonight. See you tomorrow for full body session, I think. We'll find out soon. Thursday morning full body session, and this was suspiciously bro-like actually. I felt like I should have been in a stringer for the entire session. But anyway, we started things off with 3 sets of 8 incline dumbbell bench press at 35 kilos and then dropped the weight to 30 for a max rep set. I
I think I got 15 on the max rep set, which was encouraging. Following on from that, moved on to an exercise that I've not done in a fair few years, which was a dumbbell fly. So this was 2 sets, 2 triple drop sets, I guess, going 17.5, 12.5, and 9 kilos, basically just to get some volume into my pecs, as I'm not actually that good at contracting them. And to be honest, this was a bit more of a vanity session than it was anything specific for what I'm training for at the moment. But again, it's just building overall work capacity in my upper body, as the focus has very much been in my lower body for the past couple of months. So following on from that, we had 4 sets of 8 on chin-ups, supersetted with 4 sets of 10 standing barbell curls in the squat rack, might I add. Cuff me, I am afraid. I have committed a bit of a gym crime here, but I've never been a fan of curls. I think they just hurt. They hurt my bicep tendon. And yeah, I don't get how people enjoy them so much. But anyway, getting the job done and trying to keep my t-shirts fitting as I lose a little bit of weight. Following on from that, I had 4 sets of 8 glute ham raises, which again is not an exercise I've done in a while, so these were a little bit ropey and I felt like my hamstring was going to snap off the bone, if I'm entirely honest. But looking forward to developing on these, as these are a fantastic injury prevention exercise and my hamstrings are going to be taking a lot of volume. Following on from that, final exercise of the day, 4 sets of 20, so 10 each leg on split squats at 60 kilos. These felt really, really easy. Actually, I'm probably going to up the weight on these quite significantly in the next couple of weeks. But this sort of movement is very, very relevant to incline in the hills. All right, moving on to Friday, we had a sort of modified Linda. So 140 kilos on the deadlift and 80 kilos on the bench. We went 10 on the deadlift, 10 on the bench, 9 on the deadlift, 9 on the bench, 8 on the deadlift, 8 on the bench. You get the picture. All the way down to 1. And I think it took us, let me just check, it took us 31 minutes and 13 seconds to get through the whole thing. So all in all, pretty encouraging, pretty difficult session. I mean, that many deadlifts is not something I'm that big a fan of, and I haven't done a conventional deadlift in a while anyway, so yeah, I was pretty pleased to get through all this without snapping my lower back. But moving on, I think I'll probably up the weight a tiny bit there, as I was just getting used to the movement a little bit again. But again, encouraging, and the whole point of this is just to build a lot of volume and a lot of fatigue going into a weekend in the hills, and upping the frequency across all sort of body parts to adjust me to being able to tolerate more volume over a shorter period of time. Overall, increasing my recovery and making me a more resilient overall athlete in general. So final set here actually felt pretty solid at this point. I think it was set of 8 that I struggled with the most. Johnny said it was the set of 6 where he was really, really struggling, but I think his body weight probably caught up with him a little bit there, as he is a fair amount lighter than I am. Anyway, following on from this, I had 10 sets of 50 walking lunges, so 500 meters total, just 10 up and down of this little industrial estate here, as you can see. I mean, this exercise is there basically to build volume in a movement that very much mimics the incline of the hills. So whilst it sucks and the volume is high, it is very relevant to the task at hand. Good morning, Saturday and the end of this training week. Generally speaking, I will always take Sundays off unless I've got like a big volume building weekend ahead of an event, which funnily enough, I have coming up. So there'll be a few of those in the weeks, months to come, which I'll probably document, so keep an eye out for those. But as you've probably gathered, this week will have built up a lot of fatigue in my entire body, which means that the 6 hours, 14 miles, 1500 meters of elevation that we're clocking today will be more rewarding in terms of adaptation once that fatigue dissipates running into the event. So we can't be bashing out 12 to 15 hours in the hills every weekend because life just gets in the way. So the way that we're getting around that as hybrid athletes is by basically programming volume ahead of time, which means that we're pre-fatigued going into the work that's most relevant, which means that that work will be more rewarding once we taper off. Hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments down below. So we are in the Ben Aglo region, 3 Monroes being ticked off, heading up that way and then over. But yeah, as I've said, should take around 6 hours. I'll take you along the way a little bit, but I'm conscious that this video is quite long, so I'm going to keep it as short as I can. See you soon. Stuck in a really, really boggy little section that's sort of carrying on for another K in a bit. Lovely scenery, weather's taking a bit of a turn, but this is a pain in the arse because feet are soaked through, just heather, bogginess, marsh for another K in a bit before we're sort of actually going up our first Monroe. And then we'll do the 3 of them in pretty quick succession. But we've done the route reversed because this bit is the worst part of the route.
So it's good to get this out of the way and have a bit more pleasanter route to look forward to on the way back down. So that's that job done. 22.5k, 5 hours 40 minutes elapsed. Pretty tough day out actually, and steady finish to a pretty high volume training week, but all in all very positive. Definitely feeling the fatigue in my legs on the downhills and my quads and my hips, etc., but that's to be expected given the amount of work that's been put in this week. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure that you've given it a like and have subscribed down below, and if you have any comments on nutrition or training or anything that's spoken about in this video, please do comment them and I'll do my best to get back to you. Other than that, thank you very much for watching and see you next time.